I am here. How are you?
Oh, fantastic! Thank you. Art, you remember Tracy?
I do.
And,
Hi, Art.
Hi there. Do I sound all right, by the way?
You sound fantastic.
Talking about you're an internet radio pioneer. Of course you sound well, Arthur.
Well, I don't depend on free internet like some people do. I actually pay for it, and I pay a lot for it.
Well,
Imagine how that works.
You're transmitting thousands of gigs of information on a minute-by-minute basis.
That some days that is actually true. That's the scary thing.
I know.
What am I talking about? Back in chains. Back in chains. Back in chains.
Oh, we cut off Joe Biden early. What the hell?
She does that every night.
Welcome back to the Snark Factor. I'm Fingers Malloy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tracy Connors is over at the news desk. Thomas LaDuke is over at the complaint desk and joining us right now on the Snark Factor hotline. It's an old friend of ours going way, way, way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started doing this. It's Art Lindsey. How's it going, Art?
Oh, it's going very, very slowly. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Art, we were trying to put the pieces together before you came on. I can't remember what happened yesterday. But how did we end up meeting? Were you part of RFC Radio, or did we meet through when you were with Take That Media?
Take That Media came after. Our RFC came first, I think. Yeah, I was there first. That blew up. Then I was with Take That, and that blew up. I mean, it exists, but trust me, it's still blown up. So, but yeah, that's how we met.
What do you make of how internet radio has changed since you first started?
I don't think internet radio itself has changed. It's just that podcasting has taken over, and that makes sense because we're on the go society. We don't have time to sit around in front of a computer and listen to radio shows anymore. Back in the old days, it was like the old days of radio when there was no television. You'd gather around and listen to it because that's all you could get. It's not like that now. We have iPads and iPods and all that stuff, and we're on the go, and you can take it with you. So.
And when did you start podcasting?
I don't even remember. It's been so. I don't know.
Isn't it 2025? No, I'm sorry, 1925.
Sure, that sounds about right.
Okay.
Maybe 2004. I'm gonna guess. This is actually my first appearance on radio in about 4 years, so it's been a long time since I've really done any of it. I've been too busy doing other things. Art
Lindsey's joining us on the Snark Factor. Now, Art, we got to talking this year, and at CPAC, which we do every time we see each other. This is how many CPACs was this for you?
Counting regional CPACs, this was number 9.
Oh wow! So you've had quite a few experiences, and we kind of joke about the one terrible tragedy that occurred a few years ago, where you fell back into the left underneath a drunken, somewhat high.
Yes.
Huffington Post contributor.
Yes.
Can you walk us through that?
Through that?
Yes.
I think it's actually more that someone walked through me, isn't it? Really? I mean,
stumbled, walked. I was projectile vomit.
That's really not too much of a story, other than I was walking around the lobby at 4 a.m. there in the Marriott because, like most of us at CPAC, I'm too dumb to sleep. Even though I had to get on a plane, that morning. And I saw this person. We are friends. And I'm like, well, I'll get a hug before I leave because she's almost always literally the first person I see. And you were talking to her, and she was obviously a mess. But I said, I'll get the hug anyway. She sees me, starts walking toward me, and that's all fine. And she, of course, gets to me, puts her arms around me. And for those of you who don't know, I have cerebral palsy. I use a walker to get around. I can't walk on my own. She puts her arms around me, but forgets to stop walking. And literally walks straight through me. And as you put it on the segment that you did 2 years ago, it looked like a scene from The Bodyguard. She was taking me out before I got shot. Which was... if you're going to fall down, there are worse ways to do it than to have a blonde woman land on you.
Yeah, and of course she was holding, I'll never forget, she was holding a Heineken, full Heineken, and yet she trampled you. The walker went flying, but she was able to keep the Heineken up straight to where she didn't spill a drop.
Yeah, I have to give her credit for that because I will admit I have done the exact same thing.
Priorities.
I have fallen down and not spilled a drop. I'll sacrifice the head and the ribs for a beer. It really doesn't matter.
Well, talk a little bit. Like, you said you have to use a walker to walk, and I know these events take a lot out of you, because I know they take a lot out of me, and I don't have any problems walking. So other than at 4:00 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, but you had something happen to you this year, and the ACU really stepped up to the plate. Can you tell everybody about that?
Sure. It was. I usually come in on Tuesday, which is when the ACU comes in. I'm not a volunteer, but I always come in so I have time with them because they're really good friends of mine. And so I had seen some friends on Tuesday night, and we had proceeded to, have some beverages that night. And the next day, of course, I wake up and I'm hungover. And this isn't to speak ill of them. Anything I say are my opinions and not those of the ACU. Let's get that. Let's get that out right now. And so I'm hungover, and I essentially have two goals. One is get something to eat. Two, shower. In that order, because I quite frankly do not care. So I drag myself out of bed, and I start walking down the hallway. I'm up on the 5th floor. That's where my room is. And fingers, that's nowhere near the food. The fifth floor is nowhere near the atrium where the food is. So I'm walking down the hall, and I round the corner. I'm just about to the elevator, and I put my walker down, and it doesn't land quite right. I'm thinking, well, I must not have put it down correctly, so I'll pick it up and put it down again. The second time I put it down, the right-hand side collapses, essentially, and the front right leg breaks off.
Ugh.
And I hit the ground. And I sit there for a second, and I shake it off because it hurt, because I landed on a bunch of aluminum quite awkwardly. And
yeah, you're lucky you didn't break any bones or something.
Or, well, we'll just say or something else.
Yeah.
Okay. So I shake that off, and I'm like, well, I did just completely charge my phone, so I will make a phone call. I pull the phone out of my pocket. I go to press the button. It's completely dead.
Ugh.
It's won't even turn on. It is stone dead. So at this point, panic sets in, because I'm thinking, here I am, disabled, in the middle of this huge hotel, which is palatial.
Yes.
And there's no one around. I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to crawl to the lobby and totally humiliate myself. Because I'm completely helpless at this point. And as someone who's very independent, that's tough for me to deal with. And they're literally, at that point, I'm thinking there is no other choice but for me to crawl. Luckily enough, about a minute later, a security guard comes around the corner, sees me, asks me, he's like, what happened? I tell him. He's like, wait here. He goes to get the wheelchair, takes me back to my room, and that's all good. I fill out a report because they need that, and he leaves. And that's all fine and dandy, but honestly, I'm still screwed because hotel wheelchairs are awful.
Yeah.
They make them for like 900-pound people. I can't really reach the wheels. And what people don't understand is all handicapped people are different. It's all about what you're used to. I mean, I have a wheelchair that's much smaller than theirs, but I'm still not good with it because I don't use it. Very rarely do I use it. I'm used to the walker, and that's how I get around, and I do that fairly well. Sitting in there by myself, I still can't make a phone call because my phone's totally dead. Even when I plug it in, it's still not working. So I start to think, okay, what do I do? Then my brain finally kicks in and says, get on Facebook. I do that. I write a post. I tag a bunch of ACU people, tell them what happened, and I'm waiting like 15 minutes. Nobody answers. And then I go back and I check Facebook, and one of the ACU organizers, her sister, is online. So I ping her and I tell her, read my last post, call your sister. And she's in Minnesota. Okay, this is how far out I'm going. She's in Minnesota. She calls her sister, who's in the hotel. And then about a minute later, I get a knock on the door. It's Greg Keller, the former executive director of the ACU. So I let him in. He gathers all my stuff up, takes me to his room, buys me room service, gives me his laptop so I can find out where to buy a walker, and then the other volunteer I was trying to get hold of arranged it so some other volunteers could take me to Arlington to buy a new walker, and it all worked out okay.
That's a great story, because it's, the ACU, and I'm not going to say that they are above criticism, but they take a lot of slings and arrows for stuff, and for them to do that, it's fantastic.
And they do, and it's so unfair. And I realize that a lot of people complain about CPAC, this and that and the other thing. But as someone who covers events of that size at his day job, I can tell you, it's not an easy thing to do, and you're not going to please 11,000 people.
Right.
You do what you can, and the individuals that complain have to realize it's not about them; it's about everybody. I am amazed at the deftness and the skill that they have to pull this off year after year, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. So they're obviously doing something right. And I went and I thanked everyone afterwards. I was at a party with them, and I tell them, I'm like, thank you guys so much for doing this for me, because I really would have been screwed without it, for lack of a better term. And as you know, it's not what you would call a cheap trip.
No, it's not.
That would have been a lot of money for me to sit in my room and do nothing for a week.
Right.
And they always tell me, like, Art, don't worry about it. Your family will give you whatever you need.
Art Lindsey's joining us on the Snark Factor. I'm Fingers Malloy, along with Tracy Connors and Thomas LaDuke.
Mr. Lindsey.
Yes, sir, Duke. How may I serve you again today?
Art, you and I have gone back and forth on stuff.
Yeah, well, we're good at it. It's
Yeah, we are.
It's your ego and my ego. They're two of the biggest things on the planet.
That's. I mean, Art. I can't deny that. Far be it for me to disagree with you on that point.
I mean, yes, I'm crippled, but I also use the walker to hold up my ego. That's
Maybe that's why it collapsed.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I'm still stinging from that, Vistaprint, card rip you hit on me before CPAC.
Well, I think the Vistaprint card rip should go on everybody, because if you'll notice,
yeah,
as you know, there's like a billion cards that get handed out at CPAC, and everybody has the same Vistaprint card with the flag on it. With the American flag on it, everybody has the same card. At some point, they're thinking, "This is unique. I need this card. It's so patriotic. No one else will have this." Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But mine doesn't have that. And did I show you my card?
No, I don't think you have one of mine either. I should send you one, or a scan of one.
I should. I was probably just giving my card to the important people over the weekend. So, all right, listen.
Fair enough. That's why you didn't get mine.
I know, that's fine. And people at home are probably going, you know what? You see, Arthur was John Brodigan to me before John Brodigan was John Brodigan.
Mm-hmm. I'll take that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis, right?
I'll take that.
Okay, so listen.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to clue you in on something, being that you are a internet radio pioneer.
That is true.
We had a conversation with Mr. Bo Snerdley on Thursday of last week.
As I spoke to him as well. I was in the room, so yeah.
You were there first. So
everybody's there first, dude. I don't move that fast.
Yeah, but no, you should. Somebody should have brought you in like on an elephant and a marching band. You got screwed out of that deal.
Okay, I'll take it too. All ego. You're doing
exactly. That's right.
You're doing very well right now. You just keep going. I'll shut up.
I know, I love it. So anyway, he kind of indicated to us, and we've had other people tell us this, that what we're doing is so far ahead of the curve, and being that you've been doing this actually longer than us, I want your thoughts on why this actually, internet radio and what have you, why it actually, you feel, if you do, that this is way ahead of the curve.
I think it was ahead of the curve at the time I started. I don't know if it's really ahead of the curve now, because it's so easy for people to do it, and I just don't think they understand it. I started way back in 1999, and you cannot imagine how difficult it was then. I mean, it was all handcrafted software, and I wasn't the guy who invented internet radio, even though some people think that. I just pushed it further than it went at the time, and I made a joke that I was the most powerful man in internet radio, and it stuck. So that's how that started.
And it has stuck too.
Yeah, but
to this day.
I know. Well, how could I let that go? If I make a joke that was intended to be a joke and it sticks, I'm going to push it as far as I need to. and it works. That's what politicians do.
Right.
I can puff myself up just as much as the next guy. But anyway, I as I'm saying, I don't think it's ahead of the curve. I just think it's helpful because now you don't have to hate the media; you can become the media, and that's the biggest part. I get upset because people say, "Well, I can't get a job in talk radio, or I'll never get on TV, or I can't do this, or I can't do that." Yes, you can. You just do it yourself. The company I'm working with now, we do all kinds of video in the tech sector. We get 500,000 views a month. You just got to work at it. It's not going to come in a day. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 years at best, and you're going to have to do it every day, all day long.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's one of the things that when people ask me the first thing I should do when I get in this podcasting field, what equipment should I buy? And I always say buy the cheapest headset you possibly can, because 2 months from now you're not going to be doing it.
Well, yeah, but even aside from the not doing it, that's one thing I envy now. You guys can do it if you wanted to. You could do it for $20.
Yeah.
Like when I started, guess again, that you couldn't. I mean, we didn't make any money. We did it for fun, but it was at considerable expense. You had to have all kinds of audio equipment and certain software and this and that, and computers, lots of computers, and this and that and the other. I have tons and tons of professional audio equipment that I don't use anymore. It's not because it's no good, but because I don't do radio. Now you can go out and literally buy like little kits that are designed to do this very specific thing all in one box. You couldn't do that when I started.
Right.
So it's really, really cool. I'm kind of.
Art,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
I just wanted to say, we're gonna have to take a break, but I wanted to thank you. It's always been a pleasure, running into you at these events, and I'm glad things worked out for you with this year's CPAC. How can people, if they want to get in touch with you on the internet, how can they do that?
Just look me up on Facebook, Art Lindsey III, last name spelled Lindsey. And that's the easiest way to get me. I'm not a Twitter guy because honestly, I think Twitter is nothing more than a slot machine that pays off in dumbass.
That's a good way to end it right there. Art Lindsey, everyone. Art, thank you so much. It's always great talking to you.
Nice suit, by the way. I enjoyed the pumpkin suit that you wore.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I turned into a pumpkin at midnight.
All right.
It's Art Lindsey, everyone. Thanks, Art.
You bet.
More of the Snark Factor right after this.